This first video is carriers being used under 6 months of age.
So the first type of carrier I have here is called a stretchy wrap. A stretchy wrap is a long piece of fabric, one that you wrap around your body and then put the baby in. There's no buckles, there is no strings, etc. You just wrap it around you and tie it, and then that is your carrier. There's multiple different brands of stretchy carriers, such as Moby or Boba. The difference between the brands, they're all stretchy carriers if you're looking for a stretchy carrier, but the difference between the brands could be the type of fabric that you're buying. So one tip I have is if you're planning on wearing a stretchy wrap in the summer, I would look for one that is like bamboo or more breathable fabric. This one is bamboo, so it's very stretchy, it's very thin, and it's good for wearing babies in the stretchy wrap in the summertime. Another helpful tip with the stretchy wrap is once you get to about 16 to 18 pounds, especially when you hit 20 pounds of your baby, it is not going to be comfortable to wear this stretchy wrap any longer. So it is, from newborn until about, depending on how fast your babies grow, might last you a few months. I think mine lasted me a good 4 months probably with my babies, but especially once they start to crawl or sit up or any of those things, this just really is not supportive for us or for them, and they start to sag in it, and it is not very comfortable for anyone. There is several different ways to wrap the stretchy wraps. If you're looking for an alternative than just the way I'm going to show you today, Amy Wraps Babies on YouTube is an excellent resource. They have a stretchy wrap love channel where they will show you like 20 different ways to tie or wrap a stretchy wrap. The thing I really like about stretchy carriers is it can be adjustable, so multiple different size wearers, multiple different heights, multiple different people in your family can use the same carrier, even for different age babies. It's very adjustable. You can wear it with your newborn, all the way up until you're comfortable wearing it. So it is very adjustable. I like that you can put it on in the morning or put it on before you go to the grocery store and wear it and take your baby in and out without having to re-wrap or have to deal with this big amount of fabric trying to wrap in like a parking lot or something. So it's very versatile, it's very adjustable, and that's why I really like the stretchy carriers, especially for newborns. To put the baby carrier on just the basic way, every single carrier is going to have this middle marker here. It's just a tag, the name of your carrier. You're going to put that directly on your chest, and then each side of the baby carrier is called a tail. So we're going to take our tail, we're going to wrap it around our back, and then it's going to come up over our opposite shoulder. So we're going to take our tail on the opposite side, wrap it around our back, and bring it up over our opposite shoulder. One big tip that I have for you is to make sure that it is stretched out in the back and not crossed over itself, because if it is crossed over itself, it's going to make pressure points on you that is not comfortable, and it's going to make it harder to get it tightened once we have the baby in. So once we make sure everything is good, you can also take your tails and kind of stretch them out, and that's going to help you to make sure that nothing is bunched up or crossed over here. So once you're here and you have the two tails over your shoulder, and then you have this across your chest and belly, this we call the panel. We're going to take the panel and we're going to scrunch it together here. And then we're going to take both tails and we're going to grab them and put them through the panel. So both tails will be through the panel now against our chest and belly. Once you have this, you will crisscross the tails. So if you look here, we have an X, just like you have an X in the back. So here's our X, and then in the back, here is the X. So the X is important in the front because where this crisscrosses is where your baby's bottom is going to sit. This is going to be the seat for the baby. So because I have a smaller doll to help show this, I'm going to have it be up kind of high because I know that this is not a very big baby. So once you have that, you're going to take that around and then you're going to double knot it in the back. It is important anytime we have a knot in our baby carriers to double knot it, so then that way when you're wearing your baby, it does not come undone. If you had a lot of fabric back here, you could bring it around the front and tie it instead of tying it in the back. That can also help if you're going to be wearing your baby carrier in the car, so you don't have a knot in the back that you're kind of sitting on. Okay, so once we're here, we have our panel kind of at the very bottom, all scrunched up, and we have our X. So we're going to take our baby, and we're going to look at our baby wrap. So whichever side of the X is closest to your body, we're going to put our baby on the opposite shoulder. So we have our baby up here kind of in the burping position. We're going to take baby's leg that is closest to the X that is closest to our body, and we're going to put it through that side. Now the most important piece here is we are going to take this piece of fabric and we're going to make sure that it's touching each knee of the baby. Okay? And then we're going to take the other panel, we're going to put the baby's leg through here, and then once again, we're going to make sure that the bottom of this fabric is knee to knee of our baby. Now, a lot of people kind of get worried about the baby being under the carrier. The best advice that I have is to position your baby's head to where the carrier is supporting the baby's head, but you can still always see the nose and the mouth of your baby. So once we are here, we only have 2 panels crossing over the baby to support them. This is not safe. So we're going to take our panel that we have down here. It's going to go up and over baby. Now you can keep the panel over the baby's feet, and that is just fine. Or it can be up and the baby's feet can be hanging out. The main thing is you want this panel to go up to the baby's neck. So this is how you wrap with the stretchy carrier. Now if we're going to be taking our baby out, we are going to just push this panel down. We are going to brace our baby and pull the panels to the sides here. And baby is free. Now if you were to have this wrapped and you stop at the grocery store and you're ready to put your baby in, it would look just like this, and you would start just from that last step. The next carrier I have is called a woven wrap. The difference between a woven wrap and a stretchy carrier is that you can use a woven wrap from newborn all the way up to toddler. The main difference is you can buy a woven wrap in different lengths. Depending on what kind of carry you want to have. You can back carry with a woven wrap, and you can do all kinds of different carries in a woven wrap that you cannot do in a stretchy wrap. I love the woven wrap, but they can kind of be hard to break in when you first get them, so I often recommend buying used, so then that way they are not stiff and hard, and they're just easier to get tightened if they have already been used and broken in. There are several different YouTube videos on how to wrap a woven wrap and how to break in a woven wrap. There's some Facebook groups called Woven Wrap Love, and some YouTube videos as well. So I'm not going to go into depth about the woven wrap today, just because you would wrap it similarly to the stretchy wrap if you were going to use it just basically. And there's lots of resources out there about how to wrap a woven wrap. So we're going to skip this one today. Next type of carrier I have to show you is a ring sling. So this is a piece of fabric connected to 2 rings. When you first get a ring sling, it will just look like this out of the package. 2 rings with a long piece of wrap. Where the wrap folds over the rings. It's kind of pleated. That is where you will put the wrap on. So you'll see that it kind of cups your shoulder. So whichever side is your dominant side, I normally say to put the pleat or your rings, because the baby is going to be sitting kind of on the opposite side, and so I'm going to be able to use my dominant hand to do things while the baby is in the carrier and not be obstructed, kind of working around the baby's body. So once you have your wrap here and it goes straight across your back, you're going to bring it up and around to the rings. Once you have it here, you're going to bring it through the rings, and this is similar to a D-ring belt. So you're going to take this fabric here and you're going to open the rings and put it down through the second ring. Now the most important part of a ring sling here is making sure that your fabric is not crossed over. So you'll take your fabric here and you'll pull it up, and you'll just run your fingers across the fabric to make sure that it is not crossed over itself. Once you're sure it's not crossed over, you'll slowly work that fabric tight through the rings. Okay. Now it is threaded. Now, if you're looking at using a ring sling, the most important thing to know is this top piece. We call each section of the ring sling rails. So our top rail is going to come behind the rings and then go down. So what you're thinking is the top rail is going to be the closest here. So if we're tightening this top rail, we're going to be pulling here. If we're wanting to tighten our bottom rail, it's going to be the farthest one away. So then we're going to pull here, and it's going to move here, middle, middle, and so forth. Another piece of advice is if we're adjusting the baby carrier, what we're going to do is we're going to lift up on the baby, and then we're going to pull up on this bottom ring sling to loosen. We're going to lift up, and we're going to kind of pull up and this way. Up and this way to tighten. Loosen, we're going to pull up on the ring, and it's going to loosen. Now, before we put our baby in, we're going to use our arm here. We're going to put it in our carrier, and we're going to kind of imagine that this is the size of our baby. So we're going to already kind of pre-tighten around our arm, so we know how much fabric we might need for baby, and so we're not doing a ton of tightening. Okay? And then the next step is we're going to take our rings and we're actually going to put them over our shoulder. Okay? Now, this is going to be where our baby's bottom sits. So it is important that this is tight and secure underneath of them. So we're going to take our baby, we're going to put him up on the birthing position, we're going to put our little baby's feet in, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have them sit on this piece of fabric. And then if it needs to be tightened or loosened or whatever that is, we're going to pre-do this. Okay? Now you don't want it overly tightened because then they can pop their seat and essentially almost fall out the bottom. Which sounds scary, but we're going to make sure that you know what you're doing before you're bringing the baby in ring sling. So this baby is supported in this M position with this carrier before we ever even tighten it around them. So then we're going to take the top of the panel and we're going to bring it up baby's back to their ears. Now, what we're going to do is, yes, we want it to be tightened around their ears, but the main fact is we need to grab this bunch of fabric that they're sitting on. We need to lean forward and bring this piece of fabric up in between us and our baby. So this is what is making this seat. And of course it's a little hard to do with a doll because dolls don't bend. But when the baby is very little, it is totally okay to have them with their feet in the wrap. But as they grow, here's God. As they grow, it's important to know that we don't want to always be putting pressure on their feet here. And so eventually they will be dangling out like this. And then the carrier, of course, when you have a real baby, your baby will sit in the carrier more. So I'm going to loosen this a little bit so you can kind of get the picture. So it's like inside here, your carrier is going to come up to your baby's belly button. And so they're totally, wrapped up in this carrier. So the fabric inside the bottom rail is going to be touching your baby's belly button. And then outside, your fabric is going to be up to baby's ears. And everything is going to be tightened here. And then the more you tighten, you want to tighten rail by rail here, and then the rings will end up coming down. Another trick is once you get it tightened, you can stretch it out over your shoulder, and that'll just give you more support. Once your baby is older, they can have their arms out, and it can be more supportive of just down on their back. The more you want them to be in a hip carry, the farther we can put them over here as they grow, and that is very helpful. So there is our rings. Now if you're going to take your baby out, it's a good idea to grab the bottom ring, loosen, and bring your baby out the top. A few tricks that I have for a baby in a ring sling. If they keep popping their seat where they arch their back and the bottom kind of pops out like this, is once you get your seat, you can take the tail and you're going to fold it up in between you and baby, and we call this a tail tuck. And then it's going to come up in between you and baby and kind of hang out over here. And that is just another layer that surrounds your baby to where they're not going to be able to fall out the bottom. And that is called a tail tuck. Another way to support, especially a newborn, in a ring sling, that is kind of a trick. I'm so sorry for my kids crying in the background. If you have a newborn and their head is still kind of floppy and it doesn't feel like enough support here, right below their ears, is you're going to take the tail and wrap it, and you're going to take it around here, kind of tuck it in. That just gives more support for the baby's head. You can even put a washcloth there and fold it over, and that's just going to give more of like a cushy pillow for your baby's head. And even in the ring sling, of course, we want this baby up high on our chest, close enough to kiss. Now, if we are going to nurse our baby in the ring sling, it would be a little bit looser. We would take our baby, and on whichever side we wanted them to nurse on, we would have them more positioned in this manner, like laying cradle-wise. You would take the fabric, and you still want the fabric to go up, back behind the neck and up to the ear. And then you want the fabric to come up behind the baby's knees still. And instead of going through the legs, it's going to tuck here in between baby's hips and chest and you, to where the baby is cradled sideways and then able to nurse. Normally, you kind of keep this position of your arm there to support them. You can tighten it and loosen it as much as you need to get them to go up and down. But at least you have one hand while you're nursing to do other things. So this is the cross cradle for nursing. If we were going to nurse our baby in this position, usually it's an older baby or one that has more neck support. So what we would do is we would loosen and get them in line. You still want the seat to be there, of course, and have it tightened to where they are supported. It helps kind of if you lean forward a bit and get them positioned. And then you would just, of course, expose your breasts, have them nursing, and then tighten it to whatever is comfortable with where they are. And that's how you can kind of nurse them upright. One suggestion I have is after you're nursing your baby in this position, you always bring them back up, have them readjusted, and make sure that they're in a good seat. And it's always good to have your baby upright for 10 to 15 minutes after you nurse to help with getting bubbles out and reflux. The next type of carrier I have to show is called a Med-Dye or Med-Tie, depending on what kind of brand you're buying, or a fly dye, or all of these different types of tied carriers. So essentially it's just a panel, fabric, and straps that come off each corner of the panel. So when you get this carrier, you're going to find which side is meant for the straps to go over your shoulder, which side is meant to be the waistband. So you're going to take the carrier, you're going to put it to where the inside of the carrier is facing out, and you're going to tie the waistband strap around your hips and double knot. Next, you are going to get your baby. Now, if you have a universal size carrier, what you can do is you can either put a rolled up receiving blanket or rolled up washcloth in the bottom here to kind of make a better seat for the baby, or you can get a hair tie or an elastic band to kind of cinch in the bottom of this panel to where the panel is just coming up knee to knee underneath your baby, because if your panel is too large, it will overextend your baby's legs, which is not good. So you want this panel, and they have different sizes. They have adjustable ones also, where you can adjust the width of the seat, so that's very good. And then you would want for this model of a baby, you would want an adjustable height of the panel, because you want the top of this carrier just to hit the baby's ears and not go past the baby. So this baby is too little for this carrier, but just for demonstration purposes, we're gonna pretend like it's fine. So once you have the baby here, you're just going to take your straps up over your shoulder. You are going to crisscross the straps in the back, make an X, and helpful tip is if you spread them out over your shoulders, it will help with the weight distribution. Making sure they're not twisted or crossed over themselves will make a big difference. So once you have your X in the back, everything is spread out and not twisted, you'll bring it around the front, and then you can crisscross it here over the baby's back and bring it back around and tie. This is kind of a mixture of a soft structured carrier and then the wraps. So this is how you would wear a Med-Tie or Med-Dye, or however you want to say it. So if you were to take your baby off, you would finally double knotted it in the back, release. Keep a hand always on your baby for support. It could be taken out and set down. And then the next type of carrier that I have to show you is a soft structured carrier. So that might be a Tula, an Ergo, I think even Boba might have soft structured now. I know that there is lots of different brands. This is a Tula. So the thing that you need to know about a soft structured carrier for newborns specifically, or before they are sitting up, is you either want to have one that has an adjustable panel where the baby will be sitting, or some might have infant inserts. So this is, if you had a standard size carrier, there might be an insert that you put in here to support the baby, and this would come up over the insert. This type of carrier is called a free-to-grow, and so that means that it is adjustable from newborn all the way up to toddler. So since I have a little baby doll that I'm going to be carrying, I'm going to adjust this panel to the very smallest setting. I think this goes down to 7 pounds as the smallest that you can wear. So I put my newborn in this from birth, and he can still use it, and he is 2. Now that we have it on the smallest setting, we're going to take the waistband and we're going to put it on our hips, or this can be kind of moved to where if you have a longer torso baby, an older baby, it can be moved down. If you have a smaller baby, it can be moved up. So if you have a newborn, you probably want it right where your belly kind of starts and your chest ends. And then we're going to tighten it. So you want to think here, this is where your baby's bottom is going to sit, and you want the baby's head to be right here on your chest, close enough to where you can lean down and kiss your baby's forehead. So once we're here, we're going to get our baby. We're going to have our baby on our chest, and we're going to bring the carrier up in between the baby's legs, and we're going to put the straps on. Now, this type of carrier does have the panel adjuster to where you can make it smaller for a newborn, but the main focus here is that we don't want this carrier to come up over the baby's head. If it comes up over past your baby's ears or back of the head, then it would be the baby's too small for the carrier. So this one can fold down quite nicely because it is made for little babies here. And this baby's high enough that I can lean down and kiss the baby's forehead. So once you're here, you can tighten with these straps. But the main focus here is this that goes along your shoulder blades. So with this, you can either come up and above and clip it, depending on where it falls for you. Once it's clipped, then we will come and we will grab these adjusters and pull it down and tighten. And then that way, the strap in the back goes along our shoulder blades. If it is too high and it's digging into the top of our neck, or it is too low, it'll just put the pressure on the wrong place on your back and it will not be supported. The main thing that we want to look at is that the baby's sitting. You can curve the baby's hips a little bit and have the baby fall forward so the baby is sitting with the butt supported, kind of like making a seat, instead of just like dangling. So once you touch your baby's hips and the butt is kind of hanging over the panel, so over this waistband, the butt is hanging over, then you know your baby is nice and supported in that hammock type position with their legs in an M froggy position. Now with the newborn insert, what is most likely is going to happen is your baby's feet are going to be touching the top of the waistband, and there is going to be like a little pillow or a rolled up receiving blanket or something in here to have the baby sit on to where they can be higher up in the carrier if your panel does not adjust like this one does. So if you're going to take your baby out of this carrier, you would support the baby and unbuckle in the back, bring this forward, have a dingle, set your baby down, and then unclip.